What if I told you that everything you've ever been taught about how attract women how is a lie? Pause, thoughtful expression, sharp, slightly bitter but not resentful gaze conveying raw truth. Sounds pretty provocative, right? Almost offensive. But what if the very advice you've diligently followed to be nice, to be sensitive, to listen more, to be always available, is actually working against you? This isn't about blaming or shaming. This is about a dark, uncomfortable truth. That few dare to speak that women often don't mean what they say they want in a man. And this isn't a flaw in women. It's a profound biological reality, a truth brutally exposed by the philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer centuries ago. I remember clearly a period in my life when I tried everything. I was the nice guy, the listener, the one who always showed up, always put her needs first. I bought flowers, I wrote thoughtful notes, I bent over backward to please. I thought I was doing everything right. I was trying my absolute best to make a particular woman happy to earn her affection. But no matter how much I gave, how understanding I was, it always ended in the same way. Either she'd lose interest, or I'd be subtly sidelined, or worse, completely taken for granted. My efforts, instead of bringing me closer, seemed to push her further away, leaving me feeling frustrated, exhausted, and utterly bewildered. I was trying to please, but I was failing miserably, or worse, being seen as weak. That raw, painful confusion. That's where my journey into Schopenhauer's unsettling wisdom truly began. That raw, painful confusion, that moment of feeling utterly bewildered despite trying your best to please, that's exactly where Arthur Schopenhauer's unsettling wisdom truly began for me, and it showed me a fundamental, brutal truth. The problem isn't that you're not good enough. The problem is you're listening to the wrong signals. Schopenhauer, with his characteristic pessimism, dissected human relationships with a surgeon's precision. He distinguished between what he called the lips of her culture and the womb of her nature. The lips of her culture are what women often say they want in a partner. This includes qualities like being good-natured, sensitive, emotionally available, a great communicator, someone who's nice, and who listens. These are socially desirable traits often learned from media friends or societal expectations. And many men, myself included, spend years diligently trying to embody these very qualities, thinking it's the path to a fulfilling relationship. But then there's the womb of her nature. This refers to what a woman's deep biological and often unconscious instincts are truly attracted to. This isn't about conscious choice. It's about primal attraction rooted in the biological imperative for survival and propagation. And what does this raw instinct respond to? It responds to strength, purpose, self-possession, and a quiet sense of dominance. It responds to a man who is complete in himself, who doesn't need her validation to exist or thrive. I used to hear sweet words about being a good man, but reality gave me a brutal lesson. I heard all the advice: be sensitive, open up, be vulnerable. And while those things have their place, the reality I consistently faced was that while women might appreciate a good man for friendship or comfort, their deeper attraction often remained elusive if that was all he offered. Schopenhauer teaches us that the subconscious instinctual drive is far more powerful than the conscious, culturally influenced verbal desires. The brutal truth is instinct trumps words, always. And if you're only playing to the lips of her culture, you're missing the entire game being played in the womb of her nature. And so if instinct trumps words, and women are often drawn to strength and self-possession, what then are the common mistakes of the nice man? And why is it that when you try too hard to please, you often end up doing the exact opposite of what you intend? This is where many men, myself included, fall into a painful trap. We're taught to be good, to be accommodating, to avoid conflict at all costs. This leads to common pitfalls: trying too hard to please, becoming too agreeable, always being available, and excessively apologizing. We think we're being charming, supportive, or empathetic, but in reality, we're slowly eroding our own masculine design. When you're constantly seeking approval, you become predictable. You signal that your emotional state and even your actions are dependent on her reaction. This lack of an independent core makes you seem weak even if you don't intend to. You lose your edge, your inherent wildness or self-direction. Women might intellectually appreciate your kindness, but their primal instinct, that womb of nature, quietly withdraws its attraction. It's not malice on her part. It's an unconscious biological filter. Think of it this way: a man who is too nice, who constantly yields and tries to please, is like mud. He's pliable. He flows wherever she directs him. He takes whatever shape she desires. But a woman deep down doesn't want to build a relationship on mud. She wants a mountain. Something strong, unyielding, with its own independent form and immovable core, something she can feel safe and inspired by. When mud cannot become a mountain. No matter how much you try to be agreeable, you can't magically transform into that stable gravitational force she subconsciously desires if you're constantly compromising your own center. I remember a time when I was so desperate for a woman's affection that I tried to buy her love with kindness. I'd drop everything if she called, agree to things I didn't want to do, and apologize for things that weren't even my fault. The more I tried, the more I felt myself slipping away, no longer myself. The more I tried to mold myself into what I thought she wanted, the more I lost my own identity, my own desires, my own mountain. And the more I lost myself, the less attracted she seemed to become. It was a brutal, self-defeating cycle. This isn't about being unkind. It's about understanding that kindness without a strong, independent core often translates to a lack of power in the eyes of nature. The nice guy trap. The endless cycle of trying to please and ending up as mud leads us directly to the core question: what then is the true nature of attraction? If it's not earned through endless effort or by being overly agreeable, what is it? Schopenhauer's insights reveal that true attraction cannot be negotiated. It cannot be bought with kindness, loyalty, or even grand gestures alone. It is not something you earn through servitude. Instead, it's a visceral, often subconscious response to a man's inherent energy, his presence, his gravity, and his fundamental self-possession. What is this gravity? Imagine a mountain. It doesn't try to impress the valley. It just is. It stands firm, stable, with an undeniable weight and presence. That is the kind of inherent, internal weight, solidity, and purpose that women's instincts respond to. It's the silent declaration that you are a complete entity rooted in your own being, with your own clear direction, and that you don't need external validation to confirm your existence or worth. A man with true gravity has a strong purpose that extends beyond merely seeking a relationship. He is driven by his own vision, his own mission, his own values. He doesn't need a woman to give his life meaning. His life already has meaning. And if she chooses to join him, she adds to it but doesn't define it. This inherent self-sufficiency and lack of neediness are what make him automatically attractive. He's not chasing, he's being. When I stopped seeking external validation, I began to feel a strange, quiet pull from within. This wasn't arrogance or inflated ego. It was a profound sense of calm, a knowing that my worth wasn't up for debate. It wasn't arrogance, but a quiet confidence. It was the realization that I didn't need to perform or impress. I simply needed to be authentically myself, pursuing my purpose, respecting my boundaries, and aligning with my own truth. I've seen this transformation in others, too. A friend of mine, after years of struggling in relationships where he was constantly putting women on a pedestal, decided to focus entirely on his passion project. He stopped chasing, stopped trying to be the perfect boyfriend. He just worked on what he loved, cultivated his own interests, and built a life he was proud of independently. And almost effortlessly, the right kind of women started gravitating towards him. Women who were attracted to his drive, his self-contained world, and his unshakable sense of purpose. He wasn't trying to attract them. He was simply being himself, and that inherent gravity did all the work. This is the brutal yet liberating truth about attraction. Understanding the true nature of attraction, that it's about inner gravity, not endless pleasing, is the first step. The next and perhaps most empowering is to actively embark on the journey of restoring your internal power. This means a radical shift. You must turn your primary loyalty from external validation back to Dao, loyalty to yourself first. This isn't about arrogance or narcissism. It's about self-preservation and building an unshakable foundation for your life. It means consciously choosing to build your purpose, to cultivate your internal strength, and to forge unwavering roots within your own being. This is the path to becoming that mountain, the stable gravitational force that inherently attracts rather than remaining mud, constantly molded by external desires. Practically, what does this involve? It means setting clear boundaries, not as a means to manipulate, but to protect your time, energy, and integrity. It means pursuing your passions and developing your skills not to impress others, but because they genuinely ignite your soul. It's about not allowing yourself to be constantly pulled by expectations that aren't truly your own. It's about saying no when yes would betray your authentic self. I realized that if I wasn't a kingdom unto myself, I would forever be a piece of land fought over by others. This realization hit me hard. If I wasn't clear about my own boundaries, my own desires, my own purpose, then I would always be vulnerable to external influences, constantly seeking someone else's approval to define my worth. It was a chaotic, draining way to live. So how did I start building my kingdom? I began by identifying my core values, what truly mattered to me independent of anyone else's opinion. I started dedicating time unapologetically to my own personal projects and interests, even if they seemed insignificant to others. I learned to say no to social invitations that didn't genuinely excite me and yes to solitude when I needed it. I began setting clear expectations in my interactions, communicating my needs directly rather than hoping others would guess them. This wasn't always easy. It felt selfish at times, and some people in my life didn't understand. But with each boundary set, each personal victory, I felt my roots growing deeper, making me more stable, more resilient, and ironically, more authentically attractive. It's a continuous process, but it's the only way to truly reclaim your power. Restoring your internal power, choosing loyalty to yourself first. This is the foundation. And a crucial tool in building this inner kingdom, a concept often misunderstood, is the profound wisdom found in that solitude. For many, being single implies loneliness, a failure to find a partner or a temporary state before finding the one. But I argue that solitude is not loneliness, nor is it a failure. It is a direct path to profound wisdom and unshakable inner strength. Think of the greatest thinkers, artists, and leaders throughout history. Many of their most impactful ideas and creations were born not in the clamor of crowds or the complexities of dependent relationships, but in the quiet, undisturbed space of isolation. Greatness often requires stillness, and that stillness is incredibly hard to cultivate in the emotional turbulence of constant external demands. A man must choose solitude as a path, not merely accept it as a punishment. There's a fundamental difference between being stranded in singleness and being deliberately single. The man who is stranded is still mentally dependent on the idea of a partner, always waiting, always searching, always feeling incomplete. He is trapped by his own expectations and the external narrative. But the deliberately single man, the one who chooses solitude, uses this time as a crucible for self-mastery. He turns inward. He cultivates his mind, refines his purpose, and builds his character without the distorting mirror of external validation. He becomes what I call a bay volcano of potential. His days are shaped by his own intentions, his own creative drive, his own pursuit of excellence rather than being dictated by the whims or needs of a partner. He guards his peace and carefully chooses who is allowed into his inner sanctuary. When I accepted solitude, I stopped chasing what was outside of me. This was a profound liberation. I stopped frantically searching for external validation or a romantic partner to complete me. The frantic energy of the chase dissipated. Instead, I began to build a solid kingdom within myself, where I am the true king. This meant dedicating time unapologetically to my own intellectual growth, my physical well-being, and my personal passions. It was about forging an inner world so rich and fulfilling that external circumstances or the presence or absence of a relationship couldn't disturb my peace. This isn't just a state of being, it's a profound, active choice. This is the sacredness of singleness, not a void, but a fertile ground for true self-actualization, a quiet revolution of the self that empowers you unlike anything else. Building that inner kingdom, fostering loyalty to yourself, first embracing solitude as a path to true power. These aren't just philosophical concepts. They are the tools for radical transformation. And often, this transformation is catalyzed by what feels like the most crushing defeat, heartbreak. This is Schopenhauer's ultimate, perhaps most brutal insight. Heartbreak is not a punishment, it is an initiation. It's not a sign that something is fundamentally wrong with you or that you failed. Instead, it is a necessary, albeit harsh lesson designed by nature itself to expose the underlying dynamics of attraction and to force you into self-mastery. Heartbreak is the universe's way of saying, stop seeking salvation or permission outside yourself. It's the ultimate wake-up call to stop chasing, stop pleasing, and start building. When your heart breaks, when your efforts to please are unappreciated or lead to rejection, it shatters the illusions you've been living under. It forces you to confront the reality that attraction isn't about what you do for someone, but who you are. This pain, if you allow yourself to process it and learn from it, becomes a powerful catalyst. It teaches you about your own boundaries, your own worth, and what true self-respect means. Every heartbreak is not a failure, but a door opening to the truth about yourself and how the world operates. I learned that if you are loyal to yourself first, the right things will naturally find their way to you. This isn't just about relationships, it's about life. When you are rooted in your purpose, when you respect your own boundaries, when you are whole within yourself, the right opportunities, the right people, and the right experiences will naturally gravitate towards you. So I ask you, have you ever experienced these dark truths? What was the biggest lesson you learned from your most painful experiences? Share your thoughts, your struggles, your revelations, and your stories in the comments below. Let's create a space for honest, unfiltered discussion, where men can share their journey of becoming truly powerful. If this video helped you see a glimmer of light in the darkness, if it resonated with you, please do like this video, share it with other men you believe need to hear this profound message, and subscribe to the channel to continue this journey of discovering true masculine strength and wisdom. Your support helps this vital truth reach more men seeking genuine liberation. Thank you for being here and for doing the work.